SMU at Penn State. It's an afternoon game, so maybe the whiteout, not quite the same atmosphere that you would usually expect. Penn State is favored in this one by 8.5. The over-under on this game is 54. SMU, sneaks into the playoffs, kind of playing with house money a little bit. I think the kind of consensus is that the committee got it right, but nevertheless, a little bit of house money here with SMU being in the playoffs, coming off that tough loss to Clemson where they didn't play great, but still showed that they are a quality team. Something to me that stands out here is SMU, man, 14 turnovers in the last 7 games. That could be a really big issue. Like I said, turnover differential, number one predictor of wins and losses in football, and that's college football and that's NFL. It's how the game goes. Possessions matter, and SMU tends to turn over the ball quite a bit. However, they're still 11-2. Still got here with Kevin Jennings leading the way at quarterback. What stands out to you in this one?
You're 100% right, man. The turnovers for SMU, it's a lot, and it could have been a lot worse. They had 23 fumbles this season, and they lost only 11 of those. So they lost only just a little under half of the fumbles. So that means the ball's been bouncing their way, over the course of the season. But that's pretty ridiculous, man. We're talking about 2 fumbles a game consistently. So that's a big, big, big red flag when it comes to SMU. Now, you do have a quarterback that can dish it. Jennings for SMU has been, I would say, impressive overall, man. He's got 27 touchdowns, 9 picks, which kind of adds to that issue of turnovers, obviously, but he's been dishing it to kind of one of the craziest committee of receivers I've seen. I mean, really no breakaway favorites as far as targets go for Jennings. Daniels Jr. leads with just under 600 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he's got 7 receivers with over 300 yards. So 7 receivers between 300 and 600 yards, man. That is a committee of receivers where no one is your number one target. So to me, that kind of says that there's not necessarily a receiver that's scaring you, but that does point out that Daniels can dish it. He can read defenses and he can deliver. So if you got anything to hang your hat on for SMU, it's definitely that your quarterback has been playing some pretty damn good ball. As far as rushing goes, not too bad, man. They had a running back that had a great season. Smith, he had 1,270 yards, almost 6 yards a carry, and 14 touchdowns. So they have a dynamic running back. Overall, the rushing attack isn't necessarily going to scare you, but it is fairly effective on the ground, especially when they hand it off to Smith. So if you're SMU, ideally, Jennings can play a great game where he continues to distribute the ball, have a solid rushing attack, and limit the turnovers. That is their best chance from the offensive side of the ball to win this game.
Yeah, you look at it. So SMU, their offense comes from explosive plays. They are number 13 in the country in terms of explosive passing plays at 8.3 yards per passing attempt. Like we said, they're turnover prone. They're the number 20 overall pass offense. Penn State, number 12 pass defense. And SMU, 37 points per game, puts them at number 8. Penn State, 16 points per game defensively, number 7. I think that's kind of a theme we're going to see throughout previewing these games, that these teams are statistically very strong. So we're going to see a lot of what looks like strength on strength. Really, the biggest thing to me is my X factor comes on SMU's offense, and that's going to be Kevin Jennings in 3rd and long. Penn State is very strong against the run. SMU, if they're not getting it to their number one back, not a super strong rushing team. They're number 70 in terms of yards per game as a team. So they might be put in a lot of 3rd and long situations. Kevin Jennings, though, he's an athlete, man, and he can absolutely sling it. You saw it in Gotta Have It time against Clemson, that last touchdown. He throws it to the sideline right where it has to be so that wide receiver can tiptoe and get that reception. Also, for Penn State, Abdul Carter, man, coming off the edge, he's gonna be rushing. And Abdul Carter, man, he's top 5 defensive player in college football. He is that good. So Kevin Jennings, third and long. Are you going to be able to bail me out time after time after time? And if he can, that's how SMU is going to win this game to me. What are you seeing on the flip side of the ball in terms of, Penn State's offense versus SMU's defense?
Penn State's offense has been flashy at times this season. I would say overall somewhat inconsistent. Their quarterback, while has kind of the tools to be an elite quarterback, he's a big dude. He's got a hell of an arm, and a lot of people have been kind of looking at him as far as the draft goes. He just hasn't necessarily put it all together yet. That being said, it's still a fairly talented quarterback. So your hope is that he can just continue to deliver. I don't think we can expect him to go off in this game necessarily, but as long as you see consistent play, this Penn State offense should hum like it has usually been, which is they put up quite a few points on bad teams or bad defenses, and they put up an okay amount of points against good defenses, right? When it comes to SMU, we're talking about an okay defense. So overall, I expect Penn State to not struggle too much to move the ball. That tight end, or whatever position he plays, I'm not really
Yeah,
quite
Tyler
sure.
Warren.
I'm not quite sure what to label that guy, but SMU should struggle a ton with that. As Penn State has been spamming that. That's been one of their easy buttons for the entire season, is get that guy the rock in any way, whether it's right from the snap or through the air. So that's a matchup nightmare for SMU. I expect for Penn State to fully exploit that. And so as far as what range of points I expect for Penn State, they dropped 35 on Washington. And I would view SMU and Washington's defense to be relatively similar. So I expect 30 to 40 points for Penn State.
Yeah, I kind of got them in that range there. If you're SMU, one of the things they've hung their hat on this season is being number 3 in the country in terms of yards per carry defensively. They only give up 2.8 yards per carry. Penn State offensively averages 5.3 yards per carry. That's number 15 in the country. They get 202 yards rushing on the ground. They run the ball a lot, and they do it well. And the thing to me is SMU, they don't have the type of schedule that encourages me that number 3 in the country is really true. They didn't play the cream of the crop when it comes to rushing in the ACC. They didn't play against Miami with Damian Martinez. They didn't play against Georgia Tech, who is phenomenal rushing the ball. So I don't have a lot of hope that SMU is really going to be able to stop the run. They haven't seen anything like Katron Allen and Nick Singleton duo that we're going to see in the backfield from Penn State. And at the end of the day, the two best teams that they've played, the only 2 ranked teams they played in BYU and Clemson, they lost both those games. They were close. They showed an ability to compete, but I think Penn State is a tier above those 2 teams, which is kind of why I expect SMU to struggle in this one. My favorite bet is going to be Penn State minus 8.5 in this one. I've got them winning this one 30-20, although I think there is a possibility that offense explodes and SMU really struggles in that environment, and the Penn State runs away with this one.
The only way I see SMU getting a win here is that they're able to keep pace with Penn State. They need to be extremely effective with the limited possessions that they get. Penn State can drive, and those drives can be long, given how good their run game is. So when SMU gets the ball, they need to essentially score on almost every single drive and keep pace. If they can do that, they have a chance. That being said, I don't love their chances to keep pace. I still think Penn State's defense is a pretty damn good defense. So, yeah, overall, it's definitely an uphill battle for SMU. If you can put the game into a shootout, they have a chance because Jennings is arguably the better quarterback and they're an explosive offense. So that's the ideal scenario for SMU. Penn State, I think they just handle business though. I think they, it's a Big Ten versus ACC matchup. ACC is used to shootouts. Big Ten is not, man. They play a lot more sound football on both sides of the ball. And given that it's in Penn State, I don't give SMU too much of a chance. I like Penn State to win and win big, so I expect them to cover the spread.
Yeah, SMU is going to have to make this chaos ball to win this game. And the problem is they've shown inconsistencies in that department. They're number 133 out of 134 FBS teams in terms of penalty yards per game, 81 yards per game in penalties against them. They turn the ball over a lot, and they can't run the ball, and their defense is not super quality. Running and defense travels, turnovers, and needing explosive plays, it's going to be really tough to go ahead and beat a Penn State team that I just view as a tier, maybe even 2 tiers above this SMU team in terms of just how quality they are. So like I said, I got Penn State winning this one 31-20.